Hey guys, welcome to Family or Friends That Game Together Part 2. I am here today with one of my dearest friends and my stenographer of sorts, Mike Christie. Um, we've known each other for a long time, and though he might not look like it, he's an avid retro gamer. Is that right?
I guess you could say that.
Um, now, what systems do you play? What systems have you played? What's your weapon of choice?
Uh, let's see. I got into video gaming. I think with the Super Nintendo. Um, I remember my cousins let me borrow theirs for a weekend, and that's kind of how I got hooked. They had a Mario game that was a lot of fun, and I just played that and Star Fox, I believe. So
Star Fox.
that was really fun. So the first console I got was Nintendo 64, right when it first came out. So I had Mario Kart for that, Pilot Wings, Wave Race, and it just sort of grew from there.
And from what you tell me, you still have that system.
Yes, yeah, still have the N64 and still play it with my friend every weekend. We play Perfect Dark generally, and the original Smash Brothers. So
Nice plug for Smash Brothers Ultimate. Um, Perfect Dark. Wow. I've played a lot of games on the N64, and that is one that I've never played. I played GoldenEye, which GoldenEye and Perfect Dark are meant to be sort of similar but different in some ways. Um, okay. So that being said, what's your favorite game to play on this system?
my favorite game to play, it would either be that's a tie between Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey, Conker's Bad Fur Day, and I'm gonna say I'll say GoldenEye.
Conker's Bad Fur Day, in many people's opinion, is the first game for Nintendo to really go away from its childlike image while maintaining the childlike image with the character.
Yeah, very much so. It was something my parents did not like me playing at 10 years old, but it was fun.
They sound like my mom when I started playing Mortal Kombat. You better not be going over to that kid's house to play that Mortal Kombat. No, of course not. little did they, little did they know I knew all the fatalities when I got back.
There you go.
Now, you know as well as I do, gaming has not gotten the best rap these days. What are your thoughts on the people that think gaming is the bane of modern day society, if you will?
Um, I'm not sure those critics play enough video games to really stand behind that comment. I can sort of understand why they think that there's a correlation between violent video games and certain events that tragedies that happen in our country, but um, personally, I don't think that there's a direct cause for that. Um, it really diverts away from like the core issues that keep popping up. To sort of blame it on video games doesn't really make sense to me.
Right. I've always said that if someone has problems, they have problems from the get go. It wasn't because of a particular game they played or music they listened to or so on and so forth. I think we blame the media as sort of like a crutch to make up for our own shortcomings as individuals and as parents. Um, what are some of the games that you and your friends bonded over?
Other than GoldenEye, which was how I became friends with my best friend. Other than that, I would say Grand Theft Auto 4. That was a lot of fun to play, just to sort of take turns, creating havoc, seeing who could create like the craziest like movie quality stunts and stuff like that. That was a lot of fun.
Exactly. It's games like that. Hey, GoldenEye bonds people together, people. Nothing bonds somebody together like running away from the man that has the golden gun.
That's right. Yeah. No, that thing was deadly. So you had to watch out.
I remember my first experiences with the N64, and I had first come to Matheny in 1998, and back in the area that we call the Rotunda, we had a big screen CRT television, rear projection television, and a vending machine, and an N64 was all hooked up. That was my first experience with GoldenEye, but prior to that, I had seen the N64 in, I believe, a Walmart or a Kmart when I was just walking through with my dad or my mom at the time. Just thinking, wow, this is the coolest thing. But now when you look at a game with GoldenEye, it really doesn't hold up very well. I'm sure the fun value of it holds up, but when you look at it graphically, it's just a whole mishmash of things thrown together.
No, exactly. Like graphically, it definitely doesn't hold up. But I think I just my friend and I keep returning to those games just because they're so much fun. There's a nostalgia to it. And yeah, I think that they're still enjoyable. There's something really simple about it where you don't need the crazy high definition graphics to still have a good time. So.
Yeah, I mean, what annoys me about modern day games is sometimes you need to hit 12 buttons to do one really cool thing. Whereas on the Genesis, on the NES, on the Super Nintendo, on the Genesis, it was either A, B, or C. Mm-hmm. You had three options. Mm-hmm. There was no L1, R1, LT, RT, left foot green, right foot black.
Right.
It's just a lot. Now, for those of you that don't know, Mike is also the one that helps me in the editing process with a lot of my YouTube videos. What's the process like trying to help me get a video out?
I'm pretty much, doing exactly what you're telling me to do. Every edit, every cut, every detail that, every button click that I'm making is directed by you. So, you're really directing your own video. I'm just the guy, acting as the hands, so to speak. And, sometimes I'll ask questions, like, just to make sure, like, if you want something to be a certain way. But, it's a lot of fun to do that, to see you create something from just, like, the bare bones script to acting it out, forming, like, a story together in your head of, like, the overall video, and then actually filming it and editing it and publishing it. It's really cool to see it from start to finish.
Thank you. A lot of the misconception that I get is that my videos are scripted, and I keep having to tell people that all I do is just write an outline, so I don't forget to say anything. 9 times out of 10, those are my words.
Yep.
So you can attest to that and actually tell them that I don't script my videos. I just write something so that I can remember the talking points.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you'll write like a rough script, I'd call it, but you don't. You're not always like reading it off of the sheet. And if you do have me holding up like a script, you generally sort of expand off of what you've written. You don't read like line by line by line. So
exactly. So guys, I assure you, 100%, these aren't scripted videos. These outlines are just so that I don't forget anything that I want to say, so that I don't have to do another video on the same thing.
That's right.
Now, the one thing I didn't do in my last Family That Games Together interview was I never asked this question. Has there ever been a game that's so bad that you either rented or played that you just regret playing it?
There have been a lot. The first one that popped in my head when you said that, I think it was called Superman 64. It was sort of billed as like, oh, you can be Superman and fly around Metropolis, and it's like an open world, kind of like a sandbox. That's how it felt. But it was just awful, from the graphics to the controls. Like, it was like unplayable. You really couldn't. Like, I couldn't progress in it. It was like so frustrating. So I just had to put it down.
Exactly. I've heard many a thing about Superman 64. That's why I steered away from it. I'd say my least enjoyable experience was playing a game called WCW Nitro. And being a huge wrestling fan that I am, I was looking forward to a seamless experience. Now my 10, 11, 12-year-old self loved the game. But going back to it when I was like 15, 16 and they were on the PlayStation, the controls were clunky. The graphics were horrible. The matches went a mile a minute. The players did not look like their counterparts. It was just awful. And an honorable mention goes to a game called Fighting Force 2, which Fighting Force 1 was very similar to a Streets of Rage Double Dragon style side-scrolling beat-em-up, and Fighting Force 2 turned into a game where you had to go and search for things and complete objectives. Like, what is that? But yeah, that's probably it for me. And one more goes to Mortal Kombat 4. Mortal Kombat should have never gotten 3D.
You're a purist.
I am. That being said, what's your favorite video game of all time? We went from the worst, now we want to hear the best.
Favorite of all time. I would say, yeah, I'll say Metal Gear Solid.
Great pick.
Just because of the story, the soundtrack, it was like a complete package.
It was groundbreaking from day one. I remember bringing my PlayStation to my aunt and uncle's house in Sugarloaf, New York at the time. And me and my uncle Michael, we were playing this game. We were playing Metal Gear Solid 4. Not Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid. We were playing the original Metal Gear Solid, like you said. We were playing it for the PS1. And we're going through the game. We're really pounding through it. And we get stuck at a point where, you know, a door won't open, so you call in the codec. And they give you these roundabout hints. And we were under the impression that if you left the game on overnight, that the door would just open. Well, that didn't happen. We got frustrated. And so I came back here, and I went and found a key card, and thus that door that we were standing in front of like a bunch of idiots opened. And I quickly called him right away. I said, I got the door open. And then that's where that conversation ended. But I think Metal Gear Solid was groundbreaking in the sense that there was an intense story-driven narrative. Yeah. There was interactive bosses. Like, I remember fighting Psycho Mantis for the first time and having to unplug your controller
you have to do that.
From port 1 to port 2.
So you can't read your mind.
Yes. And it was just freaky. Games didn't know how to break the fourth wall until that point. I had to say the best game of all time for me. I'm a fighting game guy, so honestly, you would expect me to say Mortal Kombat, but I'm going to say it was Super Mario Bros. 3. The visuals in that game were just groundbreaking. All the different power-ups for Mario were just the best. you had the frog suit, you had the raccoon suit that could make Mario fly if you have the button quick enough.
Right.
Like it was just awesome.
Hmm.
And I'm glad that I finally found an NES Classic. Mike can actually tell you. Mike was one of the ones that was trying to help me get an NES Classic when they were announced to be relaunched back in I believe it was September.
Mm-hmm.
September last year. Go ahead and tell them some of that story.
Yeah, I mean, you were just like glued. You were like always, asking to like just check on to see if it had been released. You were, just like trying to be like on it. So like the second that it was available, you were gonna, that was gonna be your next purchase. Like you were.
It was not the proudest moment of my life because we had the card ready, and it was actually in the card for a few minutes, if I remember at the time, and we went to cash out, and then they were all gone again.
Checked on it, and it was gone. Yeah.
Freaking Nintendo and your supply and demand. One of my final questions. Is there a game that's on today's consoles that you want the chance to play, or is there a game from back in the day that you never got the chance to play that you wish you could have?
That's a good question. I would say a game that I would want to play that's been released that I just never got. I would say maybe the original Grand Theft Auto. And in terms of a game that's out now for like a console that I don't have, I mostly do like computer games now and N64. So I guess I'd say Red Dead Redemption 2.
That is a great game. A game from back in the day that I never got. Yeah, this is a loaded question because thanks to the Sega Genesis collection for the Switch that I finally just got from my grandmother. Thank you, Grandma. You're the best. One of the games prior to this video that I never got to play was Streets of Rage 3. And I kind of wish I just left it there. Because 1 and 2 were the best for me. In terms of games that I haven't gotten the chance to play in, or I'm looking forward to, Mortal Kombat 11. You don't even have to ask that question twice. I'm waiting for that game, and I'm trying to see if GameStop has any midnight releases, because I want to see if someone is daring enough to take me at midnight so I can film a video for you guys of me finally getting my hands on the game. It's going to be awesome. Alright guys, well, this is going to conclude our interview. Mike, I want to thank you for agreeing to be interviewed today.
Yeah, of course, anytime. Happy to do it.
It's going to be awesome. Look for this video to be up sometime later tonight. Alright guys, I will talk to you in the next video. Mike, if I ever need to do another type of interview, I'll be sure to call you.
Sounds great.
It's awesome. Alright guys, take care.